You're here to talk about all of the things you're working on production-wise. You do film, writing, and production, and kind of all facets. So start by explaining who you are and what you do.
All right, so my name is Emeka Uchegbu, producer, director, content creator, just all around media enthusiast, from pre-production to production to post-production. So I edit all my content as well. So, well, I'm really excited about, despite what, is going around, I'm really excited for creatives in this time period, First and foremost, to stay safe is the most important part, and then, but us creatives, we create from home, if we have to go out and do certain productions, we get in there and get out. But for the most part, I think this is a great time for creatives to produce and put their content out to, people at home that are looking for content to engage with.
Yeah, absolutely. So, with all of this happening right now, you and I were talking the last few days. You said you've got a project that you're writing in response to the coronavirus situation. So how is that going right now?
Yeah. So let's say like a week after the virus came to America, and the hysteria came about, I started to think like, what could I do in this space to produce and put out content, mainly because I knew everybody's at home. All your producers, all your directors, all your thought leaders, all your influencers are at home now. And I mean, if it was a time where they would be able to see your content, it would be now. So I'm like, what can I do to fill a void right now? So I was like, man, why don't I do a series that's based around COVID-19? And then, so therefore, I hit up a writer, Brittany Berry. She's an exceptional writer, and we just basically collaborated on this thing. And right now we have two episodes script written. So now we're just looking to get out there and shoot it.
So what's the timeline been since like has this been like a week? Has it been a week and a half, or
Yeah, like this has been the fastest turnaround or production that I've ever tried to push out. So it was 2 weeks? We've been writing the script for 2 weeks now, and we want to go into production in the next week or two. So from script to production would probably be a total of 4 weeks, and that's the fastest I've ever turned out any type of idea, or concept. So really just trying to meet the demand for the time.
Are you willing to go in right now with what the story is about, and like what are those like the something you want to keep a secret for the time being?
So it's drama. There's going to be some drama in there. There's going to be some comedy in there. But overall, what we're trying to do is deliver a message.
Mm-hmm.
Yes.
And what is that message?
Well, the virus is real. I'll say that. But I believe that the real virus is the fear that people are having surrounding the virus. So fear is a character in our series. So you'll see this character fear and how it plays into how our characters react. And ultimately, we won't go into ultimately, but ultimately what I want from the viewers to see is that, despite, the what is going on with the coronavirus, we shouldn't be fearful. We should take our precautions, washing of our hands, maintaining social distancing and all that. But we shouldn't hide under our beds because this is something that we can overcome, you know. So that's really what the series is going to highlight.
Well, I think that's very interesting today. Very interesting because today I was starting to, the governor is putting in this lockdown right now that is going into effect, and my mom was calling earlier, just saying like, please don't go out. Like, I hope you're maintaining safety, and understand, like, I want to comply with all of this. Like, I understand we should all be doing our part to stay safe, stay healthy, wash your hands, do all that. And at the same time, you know me, I'm very interested in all this craft beer, and I'm part of a like a club that before all of this was happening was meeting every Tuesday to go out and to all the different breweries and support the local, the local brewers. And for the last 2 weeks, we've been doing virtual chats where we get together and we drink and we talk about the different breweries and how they're holding up through all of this. And kind of the consistent message is continue to support your local, your local industries, your local brewers, your local businesses. And so today I had this, I wanted to go I want to go to 3 taverns to go like give them some, to buy a couple 6-packs from them, support the industry. And then as I was on my way there, I'm thinking to myself, but is that the selfish thing to do? And I ultimately didn't do it. Like, cause I didn't feel like it was right to like go there and then to the grocery store and then come home, because I'm now just feeling like I'm being this person that is able to transmit this disease, and like what, and so I'm not really doing my part. It's kind of like that whole going out is selfish, and at the same time going out is how I'm trying to have an impact on something that I find important. And so it's kind of like it's kind of like a catch-22 right there, is what really is like, so you're talking about fear.
Right thing.
It's kind of like, how does like the fear of that really kind of affected my day? And so I'm still trying to think of like how would you analyze that, and how like that would play a factor? How is that like the characters that you were writing in? Yeah.
That's a great question. And I guess first I would say that that's respectful, you know what I'm saying? And it's honorable that, you're considering others even before. You didn't even mention yourself about being worried about, being infected, but you said, being a transmitter. So first of all, that's respectable, and I think that is there. It's important to have that that sense, of, when you're doing things, could you be compromising others? I would say, I don't think there's a absolute answer to this, but I would say really it's to each its own. One being, we've read the symptoms of what COVID-19 is, and if you feel like you've had any of those symptoms, then you shouldn't definitely be in the public, or put anyone else in a compromising situation. So that's one. And the other is the government, or city, state, local, whatever, they've gave advisories that a limited gathering. So 10 is what is acceptable now. So the mandate wasn't no one should communicate or interact with anyone, but just condense down the numbers and stay at home if you don't need to go out. So but most importantly, I think our job as creators and filmmakers, documentarians, whatsoever you have, we're supposed to be out in the field when these type of things happen. We're supposed to shed light on these situations, right? We are like the alternative news, because a lot of people are not very trusting of the mainstream media, and they want to hear from real live people and their perspective on what's going on. So
Well, it's
I
kind of
think
like
it's our duty.
well, it's kind
What's
of like,
that?
not to cut you off, it's kind of like the people in the 30s that were going around taking photos of what was going on in the streets
Oh,
and showing
exactly.
that. So you're trying to play kind of that role as a filmmaker and a writer.
Exactly. Yeah. Because 100 years from now, when they talk about this coronavirus, because it's historic and it will never be forgotten. Next 100 years, people are gonna look back and say like, how did the people respond? How did they react? You know, and what content do we have? You know what I mean? Something that you create now could potentially be in the history books. You know what I'm saying? For students to look at. So everybody has a role to play as far as creatives go.
Yeah, and I think that's an incredible message to send, and I think that's one that you're not hearing in the media right now, because I think the push is to just have everyone stay home and do that. But the point that you're making right here is equally valid to keep putting it out there and kind of being like the documentarians or the people documenting the times. And so, do you see the project that you're working on right now? Is it more in the documentary sense, or is it more of like is it like a docu series, or is it more of a like a kind of like a realistic fiction kind of series?
Okay, I could say that that way. Docu-series, yeah, but just how you said it, realistic fiction. That could be another way to explain it. Um, I recently heard Will Packer. He gave like one of the talks that we're doing right now. I don't know if it was on Zoom or whatever, but he said that, man, this is the perfect time for creators to create. He said if you're a script writer, directors at home, you could send them their script. They have the time to read your script. You know, producers are at home right now. You know what I mean? Thought leaders and tastemakers are at home now. And he was like, this is the best time for a creator. I feel like it is the best time in history for creatives that are trying to get a leg up in the game, that didn't have the visibility before. If their work is good, it's going to be seen by more people than it would have, when everyone was out and about doing their thing. So I'm hoping that this docu-series or TV series, web series, finds the eyes of a credible director, producer, studio, and says, "Look, I like what you guys are doing. Let's turn this thing into a full blown on production." So I'm just gonna manifest this on your channel right here today. So yeah, that's what we want.
Thank you. I'm glad to be part of the discussion and part of the ability to get this out there. So how did you develop? I know you went to the Art Institute of Atlanta, but how did you start going down the path of being a writer? Have you always been a creative person?
No, I grew up and played sports. Grew up in Houston. Sports was my, I felt that was my destiny. I got injured in college, and that dream quickly died, and I had to figure out a different way. And as I was bedridden, I prayed, God, show me a different way. What else can I do? And it was there I started a brand called G Nation. And G Nation was an online community. It was based on Twitter, when Twitter was really popping in like 2011, 2013, and basically it was a group of people all around the world that were supporting each other's arts. So if somebody had music that went out, the whole team would retweet and share their music. And this group just started to grow. At our peak, we were 80,000 members around the globe. And it was just a massive social media operation. And through there, I learned that, man, like media can have a big impact on the world, and the community that we had were full of artists, entrepreneurs, business people, and they needed content, to add to the platform so the members could, help them get their word out. So there became a bigger need for content. So I'm like, all right, that's what I need to do to help out this community. So I started to get into video production and, marketing and content creation. And then it led up to, I was like, all right, well, Twitter, unfortunately, it lost its popularity. So there went our membership and our engagement. But then I said, all right, this is a good thing, a good path I'm on. If I'm going to do it for real, I got to get some education behind me. So that's when I registered at the Art Institute of Atlanta and started to study the digital filmmaking and video production program.
Nice. So were you studying anything of this at Houston, or was this just like you were doing it on your own, and then like Art Institute of Atlanta was where you first like got like any like true education behind you?
Okay, so I started off in Atlanta, in Houston, the Art Institute of Houston, and then at the top of 2019, I said, all right, I'm in the industry now. You know, when I was in Houston, I was doing video productions for, talents. And I'm like, well, if I'm doing it, I might as well, I have to do it on the biggest level. You know, that's my attitude. So Atlanta, Georgia, I read an article that said I believe it was in 2018, it said that $1 billion went into the TV film industry.
Yeah.
I was like, wow. I was like, wow, and being one of the top, Georgia being one of the top production states. It was number one for a while. I don't know, Canada and Georgia were like neck and neck, but Georgia was, or maybe still is, the top production state in the nation. So I'm like, wow, why am I in Houston? I need to be closer to, where all the things are happening. So at the beginning of 2019, I decided to take a leap of faith and relocate to Atlanta. And I transferred the remaining of my credits from the Art Institute of Houston over to the Art Institute of Atlanta. And then, I just started, doing my school stuff, collaborating on student projects. And from there, I started developing a network. And I just started meeting some awesome people, built some very influential relationships. And it's just been great ever since.
Yeah. Was it all done through the school, or were you meeting people outside as well?
The school played a big role. Like this hat I got on right now, I met the owner, the founder of Aru Bros Studio, Ozzy Aru, at a graduation. I was hosting the graduation. He was the commencement speaker. So we talked backstage, and I said, hey man, what would it take for me to jump on the team? I see you got these new studio coming up. So for those who don't know, Ozzy Aru is the former president of Tyler Perry Studios. So he stepped down a few years ago and started his own studio, Ozzy Aru Bro Studio. So it's a brand new studios, and I'm like, hey man, this is the best time to get in at the ground level. So I'm sure that once this COVID-19 has subsided some, Aru Bro Studios will be back rocking like the plans that they've been promoting. So that's just part of it. I've met so many great people and worked for some influential people, and it's just been amazing, truly.
Yeah. You seem like you're very perceptive of when the right time is to strike. Like where have you gotten your motive? Where did you get that kind of like mindset for? Because you always seem to feel it, to be knowing like where to go or what, when the right time is to make a move.
A wise man once said, where you see a void in the marketplace, whoever meets that void is labeled a success. So where there's a void, whoever meets that void is considered a success. They've met a need in the community. So I've always felt that, well, if you see something, you see an opportunity and you believe you have the skills, then why not try to see if you can throw your hat in the ring? Why not try? If it doesn't work, at least you tried. But, you don't want to regret, not trying. And then you see somebody else do the exact same thing. You're like, oh my God, I had that idea. So many people have those moments where they're like, that was my movie. And it's like, it's like, well, you didn't move fast enough. You didn't, because even right now, I'm sure there are many people with ideas of what they could do now, but it's really going to be the first person that, not necessarily the first person, but the one that does it well and does it in a timely manner. that's going to, ultimately take the crown, I should say.
And so, do you believe you've been that person? Like each time you've done it, or like, do you? I don't know. Never mind.
I understand what you mean. No, you build it. You build courage over time. Sometimes you try things, it doesn't work, and you're like, dang, like you can feel down on yourself, like, man, it didn't work. But maybe you get something out of it. You might not necessarily achieve the goal that you wanted, but you get something out of it. Like maybe you build a relationship in the midst of it, or you still feel good that you tried, and you kind of work, you kind of build that up until, when something like this, a COVID-19, and everybody's scared to go outside, and you're like, you know what? I see an opportunity. I'm going for it. So over time you build up courage, until you meet that period where it's very crucial for you to execute and capitalize on that moment. And I feel like that's the moment we are in for creatives now.
Yeah. So you talked right here about a lot of your successes. But it always gets said, like, people learn a lot. You learn most from failure and learn most from mistakes. So have there been opportunity? Like, what opportunities didn't go so well, and like, have you learned from any kind of like those opportunities as well?
Yeah, man. Being a creative, producer is a tough. Sometimes it's a tough thing. Sometimes I say, like, what did I sign up for? Like, why am I doing this?
Yeah.
Because it's a resource business, and at times it's a name status business. If you have the resource in the name, things are easier to get done. But when you don't have that, really you bank off your your character, your integrity, doing the right thing when no one's looking, or just being a man of your word. So the challenges have been really the lack of resources to do a lot of things that I've wanted to do, but I overcame that, I would say, by being more creative and being more resourceful, and doing things on a smaller budget. So those are the challenges. It's just coming from a city like Houston, where there aren't really many people in the entertainment industry that can help you or put you on a platform or another level in the industry. It's like, it's hard.
Yeah.
That was one of the reasons why I decided to relocate to Atlanta, Georgia, to be closer to some of these people that, if they do like your project, that they could greenlight your thing. So that has been challenging, but I think being in Atlanta, Georgia, it just brought me closer to the relationship and the resource that I need to get my projects, streamed worldwide.
Yeah, that's awesome. What philosophies do you believe in, or help guide you?
Philosophy.
You've spoken about a lot of them, but are there any like specific that like you kind of like, any mantras that you try to like hold to?
Let's think. Well, what comes to mind is a quote from William Shakespeare. He said, "Sweet are the uses of adversity." And the way I understand that is, in any adverse situation or crisis situation, there are opportunities that lie if you look close enough. So while everybody's freaking out, like the world is falling down, the fear aspect kind of blinds people from seeing where the actual opportunities are. So in this time, that's really kind of the mantras or the don't freak out. Just figure out what people are needing, because when there's a state of fear, people are looking for something to give them some type of relief. And if you can meet that need with with something, then you fare out better than most. Robert Kiyosaki said, for those that don't know, he wrote the book Rich Dad, Poor Dad. He said that.
Go ahead.
You familiar?
No, but go ahead.
He said that. So he's a popular. I guess you would call him like a economist, or but he studies trends, and he said that he made the most money that he's ever made in his life after the 2008 financial crisis. And I mean, his books have sold 40 million, across the world, and everybody loves his books. But he said that he's made the most money in his life after the 2008 crisis, that there are more opportunities in a depression, or unseen opportunity in depression, that if you focus on, could be a bigger yield than in times of normalcy.
In this situation right now, what opportunities do you think that people could be? You're talking about creatively, but like even right now, what comes to mind for you that people could be doing right now that are trying to look for things to do? Like, we're all sitting around in our rooms. Some of us are going stir crazy, and kind
what
of.
Is stir crazy?
I don't know. I've just been hearing this phrase a lot lately. This just like that seems to be like a common phrase. But for those that maybe it's like, fine, like, I understand this is time to be creative, but some people aren't as creative, and they're still just looking for something to do right now. And it's like, and we are at a time where people, need support, and there's a big crisis happening right now where it's like support and care and like attention to that is where people should, who aren't creative or who should be putting their time to. So what do you think that people could, how do you think people who are just kind of like trying to see what to do and don't just want to keep going to the grocery store, how do you think that they can find something to keep them busy and helping the world right now?
Okay, that's a great question, right? Something we should ask Donald Trump.
But no, we're not going to get the answer we want from him.
No, but so this is a time for us to utilize. Okay, let me speak to the creatives first, and then I'll speak to just the 9-to-5er. All right. So as far as creatives go, online streaming is at its high, right? You have Netflix that's streaming. Everyone's home watching Netflix. Everybody's watching YouTube. Every music sites like Spotify are up. Hulu, all the streaming platforms are being inundated with users watching all types of stuff. So as far as creatives go, monetization of content is one way to work from home, right? Uploading content and monetizing off that content. So that's one aspect. So someone that is maybe not as creative, but likes to be a part of a team. I think the time that we're in is we're kind of shifting away from corporate giants really dictating our lives. I believe that the smaller connected groups are the ones that are going to really do big things, right? Because along with the coronavirus, what we're going to see afterwards is an economic fallout. So the saying, the bigger they are, the harder they fall.
Yeah.
So the giants are going to fall, right? Bailouts are going to be, going everywhere. People, the businesses that were hanging by the hair of their chin may not survive, right? So it's going to be that smaller net group that need to band together to really support their community. And those are the ones that are going to make the biggest difference. One being is that people trust, their neighbor for the most part,
Yeah.
And I'd rather do business with somebody that I know that started a small business that is supporting the community than giving my money to these corporate giants that maybe have abused their power before, So this time is vital, it's crucial for smaller groups to come together, like small businesses and people to support these small businesses. If you're an accountant, you can support a creative. If you're if you're a labor worker, maybe the creative needs set design, or you just have a management type of mind, right? You can support any business.
It kind of makes me think of like dinosaurs going extinct when it was larger animals roaming the earth. Like the dinosaurs go extinct, and then what comes from that? It's like all of like the smaller animals that
Exactly.
now have like better ability to survive in this climate. So is that kind of like what you see happening?
Exactly. The small guy has a chance now.
That might be the most hopeful thing I've heard about the coronavirus pandemic.
Yeah. So you and I mean, we got to work on some things, right?
Yeah.
We got to make some things happen. Yeah.
Let's get to work. I'm excited. So where do you see yourself in 5 to 10 years as after all of this? Where would you like to see yourself in about 5 to 10 years?
5 to 10 years, my main objective is really building a bridge between America and Africa. And I'm doing that through media, through content. So the next 5 to 10 years, I'm claiming that I'll be the biggest TV film producer on the continent of Africa. That's where I see myself in 5 to 10 years.
Really? So you're looking to, because your family's from Nigeria. I remember talking about this. Remind me again, though. Were you born in Nigeria or were you born here in the States?
First generation. So my father is from Imo State and my mother's from Calabar.
So are you trying to like go back there, take like a film, like build a film studio there?
Yeah, so mainstream media, I feel, doesn't highlight Africa in its true sense. You see a lot of poverty and disparity and, diseases running rampant. Yes, that is a part of, things that are plaguing Africa, but it's not Africa in its whole. There is beauty in Africa. There are well-to-do people in Africa. There is a growing middle class in Africa, and there are modern cities in Africa. And while mainstream doesn't really show that, so my role as a producer, content creator, is to bridge the gap between America and Africa. So people can see Africa as a tourist location instead of like, all right, I want to go on a vacation. Let's go to Italy or, the Caribbeans, or the Caribbeans, or, or any other Western, country. How about go to, Lagos, Nigeria? How about go to Kenya, Nairobi? How about go to Cape Town, South Africa? And really see Africa for yourself, and I think a lot of perspectives will be changed about, what the content is really about. But my job is to do that through film, to do that through TV shows, movies, and all that. So from the next 5 to 10 years, that's where I see myself as one of the biggest TV film producers on the continent.
Wow. How long has that been has that been with you since you started at Houston, or have you always wanted to do something to bring it back to Africa, bring it back, kind of have a homecoming in that kind of a way?
Yeah, it's funny you say that, or you say homecoming, because there's a film that I'm producing now. It's called Homeland. It's in script. I'm writing the script now. But as a Nigerian, I've always felt the need to, develop, my country. So it's always been something that is, even when I was playing sports, like, all right, when I make these millions of dollars or whatever, I'm going to help develop my community back home. But now I'll do that through media, so it's always been a part of me as a Nigerian.
Awesome. And that's mostly what I have in terms of questions. But the last one that I have is just, what are you watching, reading, listening to right now during this time?
I'm really looking at the markets, market trends, like what is going on, where are, like the question you asked, what are things that we should be investing in? I've seen a lot of good stuff in the streaming world. I recently launched a streaming app on the Roku platform, I'm Atlanta TV, where we'll feature all the happenings in Atlanta, shows, documentaries. This is where the new series that we're producing right now, Infectious, will be on. So I'm really just looking into investments and also just things that keep my spirits up as far as staying strong in chaotic times.
What particularly are you looking in terms of like market trends?
So businesses that, for example, small businesses that right now are going to need content to show that they're actively supporting the community, with all this, coronavirus going on. So I'm looking at small businesses that need that coverage and video production to show their customers that, they're on their side and they're trying to help however they can. I know you mentioned that you spoke with a brewery that kind of repurposed or their production into sanitizing production. Those are important. The community needs to see that these businesses aren't just there to take your money, but they also are, can help if there's a crisis that's going on. So those are things that I'm looking at. And then after it's over, there's going to be businesses that are going to need relaunching how we're moving forward. That's going to be another big opportunity for media house independent creators, to really show the stories of these small businesses that need it.
Well, great. Thank you for I'm all out of questions right now, but I mean, you've done a great job, sharing all kinds of information. Every time I sat down with you, you've always been very philosophical. I remember when we sat at the Art Institute of Atlanta, we were like helping to write. We were talking about one of your projects. That was a good time of just sharing ideas back and forth. And so every time I talk to you, I feel like I come away with a lot to take with me. But is there anything else that you want to say before
yeah
ending off?
To your viewers, follow me on my Instagram at @IAM_MGTV. That's IAM_MGTV. We're gonna launch this series, Infectious, and we're gonna post all the promotional things on that Instagram. So it's gonna direct you to the Roku app channel. I'm excited about that. I'm Atlanta TV. So yeah, that's the main thing. And everybody stay safe, and most importantly, stay encouraged, stay strong, and feed your mind, body, and soul. Stay active.
Awesome. Well, thank you very much, Emeka, for doing this, and we'll talk again soon.
Sure. Thank you, Neil. I really appreciate it.